In the news tonight, a ruptured water main causes outages that force many institutions, including schools, to close. Barbadians given more time to register for the solidarity allowance. One school reaping some success in tackling indiscipline. And in sports, the Windies suffer a massive defeat to England in the first ODI.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
A very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Bloom. Thank you so much for tuning in. In our top story tonight, schools and government agencies were among the organizations forced to close early today due to a water outage caused by a rupture on one of the Barbados Water Authority's main supply lines. The burst main affected communities in at least 2 parishes, prompting the BWA to dispatch water tankers to the affected areas. Rachel Agard has that story.
BWA feverishly repairing a burst 20-inch main at Odessa McLean Drive, My Lord's Hill, St. Michael. The damage, said to have occurred at about midnight, forced numerous institutions and organizations from Rendezvous Christchurch to Bay Street and Waterford in St. Michael to close their doors. Schools were among those affected, including Graydon Sealy Secondary, the Seventh-day Adventist, and Combermere. The Ministry of Educational Transformation and the Barbados TVET Council also closed early. Senior Superintendent of Works Gregory Thompson says while the repairs are being undertaken, reservoirs at Grandview and Britain's Hill will not be replenished, and customers in the south and southwestern parts of the island will experience low water pressure.
On investigations, we realized that we have a large diameter main here at this juncture which has been ruptured. Now, we have started the repairs on that job. We would experience some challenges because the Barbados Lighting Power and the National Petroleum Corporation also has some underground services in close proximity to the work site. So they came, they identified, and as a consequence, Barbados Lighting Power, and as a safety measure, they would have isolated the power coming on that underground supply. That being done, we are currently cutting out the pipe to effect the repair.
BWA's marketing officer Yvette Harris-Griffith says over the last couple of days they have been dealing with an emergency situation near the Bell pumping station. She says while conducting work they ran into some complications.
And ironically, that work was finished a little earlier today, this morning, where that repair is complete and we would have been ready to turn the water back on. Now, overnight, we would have encountered a difficulty where we have a rupture on a large diameter main, in fact, a 20-inch main, that has now changed the whole picture. We now have additional customers who would be impacted by water outages, and so while we finish addressing one problem, we now have to deal with another.
Meanwhile, BWA's acting CEO, Christopher Mapp, apologized to customers for the inconvenience. He says planned work in the Bell took longer than expected, and they also had to deal with water outages in Station Hill and Waterford as a result.
Just when we thought that we would be able to restore service to them, we had this burst here. So this has now expanded the areas that are without water. We know Combermere School, Graydon Sealy School, a lot of hotels on the South Coast, etc. So this is a large area that has been affected, but we're working as fast as possible to make sure that we can get this repair completed as quick as possible. At
least 16 water tankers were deployed to assist those without water. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
Well, joining us now to provide an update on the burst main is the BWA's Director of Engineering, Charles Leslie. Good evening, Mr. Leslie.
Good evening.
Thanks for joining us. Now, is the repair work complete, and are those affected getting water?
Okay, the repair work is complete. We were able to complete the repair around just after 5 this evening. And we were able to start back our Bell pumping station, pumping water to those areas. The persons at the lower level of the coast, the coastal area, they will begin to get back water a lot sooner. Probably by now some of them are getting back water, but it's going to take a while for the entire system for the pressure to build back and customers at the higher elevations to get back water. So we had a pretty extensive outage along the south coast and parts of Bridgetown, but during the course of the night, water will be restored to many of those customers.
I heard in the report previously that about 15 or so tankers had to be deployed. So were you able to adequately supply those affected with water from the tankers?
Yes, the tankers were able to adequately supply those areas. We even engaged a couple of private tankers as well to assist us in that venture. And what normally happens in a situation like this is that the tankers would go up to the customers' properties and dispatch water into their storage tanks. So, you know, the Barbados Water Authority is always encouraging, especially our commercial customers, to invest in storage tanks, because when situations like this occur, and they're bound to occur, especially since we're included in a hurricane belt and hurricane splash show every year. When this happens, we are able then to supply them with water, and it minimizes the disruption to the businesses.
Mm-hmm. But are you satisfied with the uptake of those urgings on the part of the Water Authority to get those tankers?
We are not totally satisfied. We have to keep encouraging those customers to invest in tanks. I guess because in those areas the water is so readily available and it hardly goes off, so they take it for granted. But we're always encouraging them to invest in the tanks, because it is an investment in their business. And since we are in a hurricane belt, we're bound to have hurricanes and so forth pass through the region every year. So it's like playing Russian roulette if you don't, because you're just gambling with your business, basically.
So the BWA has been undertaking a mains replacement program for some time. How is that going?
Okay, the Barbados Water Authority has about 2,500 kilometers of mains across the island, and many of them are aged. So we have extensive amount of mains to be replaced across the island. We've been doing between 20 to 30 kilometers of mains annually, but we have to increase that because we need to accelerate that replacement. We have embarked on a strategic mains replacement program across the island, but we have a specific focus now in the St. Lucie and parts of St. Peter area because of the issues we have there. So far in that part of the island, we've replaced over 20 kilometers, but we still have approximately another 23 or so kilometers to replace. But when you look at the entire island itself, there are many more mains to replace, and it's going to be a number of years in terms of that replacement program.
How much has been spent on that mains replacement program, and how much more will it cost? Has it been estimated?
It's going to cost the Barbados. It's going to cost Barbados hundreds of millions of dollars. It takes approximately $1 million to replace a kilometer of main, and with 2,500 kilometers or a greater part of that to be replaced, it's going to take us hundreds of millions to replace that.
Okay, thank you very much. That was Mr. Charles Leslie from the Barbados Water Authority, the Director of Engineering there, giving us an update on that outage that has been affecting some sections of the island. Thank you very much, Mr. Leslie.
Thank you.
Well, Barbadians have been given more time to register for government's one-off solidarity allowance. They now have until July 31st. The update was delivered by Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strachan, during a post-cabinet press conference at Illawarra Court. However, he urges Barbadians to register at their earliest convenience. Minister Strachan adds those who, without requisite identification documents, are assured that their cases will be fast-tracked to accommodate registration at the various locations across the island.
The Director of Finance, along with the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Labour, as well as the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of People Empowerment, those three officials will sit as the appellate mechanism, such that as we go through this process and anyone feels as if they have not been having applied and not necessarily meeting the criteria, if they feel as if they have been if they feel aggrieved, then they are free to write to the appellate mechanism, and we will investigate to make sure that those things are corrected if adjudged to be so.
During their post-cabinet press conference, Barbadians with U.S. student visas were advised to proceed as normal to their respective educational institutions. The advice came from Minister of Training and Tertiary Education Sandra Husbands in the wake of a pause on student visas issued by the U.S. government. She, however, suggested that people now contemplating pursuing overseas study should look to territories other than the U.S.
Perhaps they may want to be seeking out Canadian universities, other universities in Europe, other universities in the Caribbean, Latin America, wherever, to give themselves options just in case there is not a positive outcome from the stoppage on the U.S. student visas.
Minister Husbands is also encouraging all students in overseas territories to register with Barbadian embassies and consulates as soon as possible. She says one of the challenges in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade is not knowing how many Barbadians are overseas.
It is very important if you are a Barbadian overseas for any length of time. We're not talking about 2 weeks holiday or 3 weeks holiday, but you're going to be out for a period of time. It's important for you to inform the embassy of your presence where you are. Why is that important? Should there be an emergency, should there be anything that is likely to impact you and they need to make contact with you, it's going to be important for them to be able to reach you. And more importantly, you need to have our numbers so that you can reach to us when you have an issue or a problem.
Coming up on Newsnight, at least one secondary school reporting that indiscipline is on the decline. Indiscipline at the Grantley Adams Memorial School is on the decline. This is efforts by teachers to help students with behavioral issues have led to a significant improvement in the students' behavior. Principal Major Andrew Skeet shared the positive news as he delivered his report during the school's speech day and prize-giving ceremony. Anesta Henry was there and filed this report.
In the past, the Grantley Adams Memorial School received negative publicity for indiscipline among students. Now, Principal Major Andrew Skeet is reporting a tremendous improvement in student behavior as a result of intervention mechanisms.
I'm happy to report that there still has been a significant decline, not at the levels that we may want. I think we may be plateauing and reaching what we would call manageable levels. But I make no doubt that the improved behavior is as a result of the hard work, including the extreme patience of our teachers who understand our students and are prepared to work with them.
In addition, a significant number of students are making the effort to do their best, realizing that the school is set up to cater to their needs.
In addition, we believe that the strategies we employ to assist our students to manage their behavior are working. And as simple as it seems, as very simple as it seems, the provision of breakfast, however so slight, from the senior teacher's office helps in behavior management. I think Bob Marley said a hungry man is an angry man. Yeah, but it does help. It does help. We use parental consultations where parents are engaged and challenged to assist in managing their child or their ward's behavior. This has borne some fruit as well. In some cases, the mere presence of the parent at these meetings is significant, as that child, that ward, will perceive that their parents' presence to mean or to be an act of care and love.
The principal also reported major academic improvements, with several students who were placed in remedial reading and mathematics programs being reintegrated into mainstream classes. This year, the rural school observes its 70th anniversary, and the chairman of the Board of Management, George Griffith, is thanking past and present staff and students for their contributions to the institution's development over the years.
To be more precise, I am referring this morning particularly to our teachers at all levels for their dedication to the task of ensuring that you, our students, are the recipients of the best quality of education possible, and which takes into consideration the capacity of each and every student who comes before them with their individual strengths, weaknesses, and primary socializational predispositions. You, teachers, are a significant component of that enabling environment without which effective education and learning is no more than a figment of one's imagination.
During the speech day and the prize-giving ceremony themed Tried by Fire, 70 years strong, past and present students were awarded for their achievements. Anesta Henry, CBC News.
Students at the Ann Hill School are on a mission to bring their own produce from farm to table. They've been assisted in this effort by the Massey Farm to Table project, a collaboration between the Massey Foundation Barbados and PGDFF Caribbean. It is intended to empower the students to become self-sufficient and to eventually become employed in the agricultural sector. Managing Director of PGDFF Caribbean, Anita Sundaram, says they have given the students tools and other equipment to create a box garden and learn about hydroponics over the last 8 months. She says they previously partnered with Massey to donate 25 libraries, 18 of which have so far been given to schools and community development centers. Ms. Sundaram says to date, Massey has donated over $200,000 in support of children, the environment, and communities.
Have learned so much. They've been planting vegetables like lettuce, squash, okras, and they also learned not all vegetables succeed. So in the first term, they had a set of vegetables that were, got pests against in them, so they weren't able to grow them. But that was also a learning experience for them on use of pesticides and how to protect the plants as well.
Teacher at the Ann Hill School, Lindley Trotman, says the project has been ongoing and they're thankful for the opportunity as it has enabled them to assist the students.
The Ann Hill School is extremely happy for the partnership between themselves and the PDGFF charity group. We would have had the program going for a couple of years. They came to the school in the first instance with the little library, but seeing the need for improvement in our agricultural section, they offered assistance in that area. So we are happy that they came on board, and we hope to see more success in the future.
Sports Night, brought to you with the compliments of Great Health Works, agents for Omega XL.
Sports time now. Say good evening to Mark Seal, who joins us with all the details. Good evening, Mark.
Very good evening. Barbados golfer Emily Odwin was tied for 81st position after 12 holes a short while ago in round 1 of the 80th U.S. Women's Golf Open being played at Erin Hills in Wisconsin. Odwin is one of 14 players tied on 2 over par, but she does have 6 more holes to play on day number 1. The top Bajan golfer has created history as she's the first Bajan player to play in a golf major. 156 golfers are playing in the U.S. Women's Open. Currently, there's a 4-way tie for the lead, with all 4 golfers back in the clubhouse at 4 under par. In football, Empire are the knockout champions of the BIM FC International Masters Tournament. Playing in Waterford, the league champions completed the double by defeating St. Thomas FC in the knockout final. Meanwhile, in the third place playoff, Bodada edged Pinelands. CBC's Damien Best reports.
Lumber Company ground the venue with Dada in red versus Pinelands. Ball down the right, and would you believe it? A bad first touch followed by a hopeful toe poke results in the opening goal via Greg Rock, 1-0. Still in the first half, equalizer for Pinelands incoming. Lionel Paul at the core, defense in shambles. Smart side-footed finish, 1-1 then. Pinelands started to come into their own and linking the passes together with consummate ease. Looks like the last touch off Paul, so that's his second. 2-1 then. Change of ends for the second half. Cross into the 18-yard box. Measured on the half volley, rifled home by Basil Burke. Oh, how sweet it is. 2-all. Well, if you thought that was hot, this one was scorching. Damian Granderson from at least 28 yards out, off the crossbar and in. Worth another look. 10 out of 10 for the technique, sir. Wadada with the 3-2 win, securing third place. On to the feature event, St. Thomas in blue taking on Empire in the final. 14th minute, Arantes Lawrence unlocks the defense, released into wide open space, shears the bounty with Norman Ford arriving late. Calm, cool finish from the local legend. 1-0. No more goals in the first half, so into the second we go. Speed from Lawrence, causing headaches for the defense. The footwork, not too bad either, but the attempted finish in the end was catastrophic in his book. Nowhere near the target. Opportunities few and far between for St. Thomas, and what really should have been a clearance was Alan King's ill-advised back pass to beat his own goalkeeper. That's a gift for the Empire camp. 2-0. The icing on the cake, and the knockout title was signed, sealed and delivered in the 60th minute after Lawrence threads the needle. Calvin Scott sprinting and penetrates the goal. He's over the moon as Empire take the 3-0 win over St. Thomas and the knockout title.
The Business Report, brought to you with the compliments of Republic Bank. We're the one for you.
In tonight's business, government is on the thrust to raise more capital and is calling on Barbadians with U.S. accounts to assist in this regard. That's according to Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn. He says government had previously launched a U.S.-dominated bond for Barbadians to be able to hold U.S. accounts within the capital account for CARICOM. Well, now those account holders will be targeted to raise $100 million with a 3% interest rate over 18 months.
Those resources that are now available in the banking system, $1.6 billion has accumulated over the last few years, earning 0%, and therefore I wanted to bring that to your attention in relation to how government, having restarted the capital market, was able to ensure then that we can provide opportunities for as many Barbadians to be able to help finance the development of Barbados.
Barbados has to reskill and retool. That's the call from Minister of Training and Tertiary Education, Sandra Husbands, as she delivered the feature address at the launch of EduFlex, a new suite of loans from the Student Revolving Loan Fund. Let's hear more from Trevor Thorpe.
The minister said the new financing comes hard on the heels of the recent passing of new legislation which addresses concerns and demands of training of Barbadians of all ages. She told the audience in the media conference room of the Ministry of Education, for Barbados to succeed, its people have to succeed.
The suite comprises, among others, the back-to-school loan, which will be the featured facility at today's all-important launch. The Student Revolving Loan Fund is by no means new to empowering thousands of Barbadians, especially the youth, by providing loan financing. However, while it may be perceived that the SRLF caters primarily to recent school leavers, financing from the SRLF is very much available to all Barbadians, irrespective of their ages.
Permanent Secretary Patrick McCaskey gave the thumbs up to the initiative and said it is also a reflection of the staff of the unit and fulfills the corporate mandate of the SRLF.
Now, this launch of this unique EduFlex loan solution is in particular, as well as the back-to-school loan facility, is a clear example of the fund's success in fulfilling its corporate mandate.
Chief Executive Officer of the Student Revolving Loan Fund, Ambrose Johnson, said the system has changed with the times.
The educational landscape has changed, and as you know, the cost of education has increased, and also the various tools we need for education also has varied, and therefore recognizing that need and that the educational landscape has changed, we are determined to respond to those changes. Our goal at the SRLF is to be able to finance any educational expense that the Barbadian public may have, to ensure that there's no restriction to education because of lack of financing.
The CEO says the repayment period will be over 36 months. Trevor Thorpe for the Business Report.
Sports Night, brought to you with the compliments of Great Health Works, agents for Omega XL.
We're into the second half in sports now, so it's over to you, Mark.
Thank you very much. Organizers of the BCIC Rally Barbados are encouraging spectators to heed the safety precautions when attending the Caribbean's biggest motorsport competition. Event director Neil Bernard made the call at the Auto and Rally Show at Bushy Park recently. He says the organizing team has put the necessary protocols in place to prevent accidents, but fans must also do their part.
We're appealing to all the spectators, people driving between stages, general road use, to just stay safe, stay within the speed limit. If you're watching stages this weekend, please do so from a safe area. We've spent a lot of time and energy in trying to educate the public as to where to spectate from safely. Also, listen to what the marshals have to say. Ensure that you're not, if they do ask you to move from a dangerous position, please do so.
122 competitors are entered for the event, which begins tomorrow night at Bushy Park. Back to some cricket news. The undefeated Amass Sporting Services of Barbados have finished top of their preliminary group after winning today's top-of-the-table clash with Tobago Legends in the 2025 Tobago Over 50 T20 Cricket Fiesta. They won their fourth consecutive match, but this one was close by only 3 runs. Playing at Shaw Park, Amass Barbados batted first and posted 129 for 8 off a rescheduled 15 overs. Andy Payne top-scored with 49 that had 9 fours. In reply, Tobago Legends were restricted to 126 for 7. Player of the match, Yusuf Ramlagan, top-scored with 91, laced with 8 fours and 6 sixes. Now, 12 runs were required off the final over and 4 runs off the final ball, which was bowled by Jeffrey Lafon. But the hosts only got 1 run off that last delivery. Skipper Anthony Morris finished with 2 for 24, Cleveland Grant 2 for 25, and Lafon 2 for 37. Now a mass semi-final is tomorrow against Trinbago Strikers.
And that's news for tonight. On behalf of the entire team, thank you so much for tuning in. Good night.